All right, we have a special edition of Front Row Sports Podcast. You'll notice there's only two of us on the screen. That's okay though. Fab is off handling business. We got myself, Steven, and Wes. And this is now episode 4. And we're delving into what episodes are we on now? Episodes
2 and 3.
No, we already did that one. Episodes 1 and 2. This is going to be episodes.
Oh yeah, 3 and 4. 3 and 4.
3 and 4, right?
Yeah.
All right. So, what are your thoughts so far?
So, man, I've got conflict. Okay, so some stuff I did miss because I was at work, but I think the thing that I did miss, majority was because I had some of it playing while I was helping some folks out. Was they kind of like talking about I think dealing with Phil Jackson, how he came about and everything into the Bulls organization.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever was right before that, I just remember like some stuff dealing with Scotty and Dennis and like everything like that. But that was really all that I necessarily missed. But my biggest thing, man, I think has been what everybody's been talking about with the Pistons and the Bulls, man.
Yeah, man.
I think one thing that you gotta take into context, Isaiah Thomas is definitely underrated, like as a player. I don't think so. I think he's undervalued in the sense. I don't think he gets talked about enough. I'll put it that way.
I agree.
As far as like his skill, and then he was the best player on those teams. And how tall is he? 6'1", 6'2", maybe. Yeah. So you got this small guard that's the best player on the teams, and they play team ball, and they beat a Bird in their prime, a Bird in his prime, a Magic in his prime, a Jordan that's at this prime. I wouldn't say necessarily it's the prime.
He might have been his prime physically.
Yeah.
Can you say that? You don't think – was he more athletic in the late 80s than the early to mid 90s as he aged? Probably so, because of them.
Yeah, I would say he's more athletic, but I think
because when they were beating him, he wasn't really lifting weights yet.
True. Now
they forced him to do that.
Yeah. Now, but that's the thing. Like now, if we're saying weight wise and him putting on the strength, that was the apex of him as far as the athlete. I mean, of course, they led him to that, but as far as the talent, athletically, I think. And I guess kind of like the shell of like I'm gonna take everybody on myself. I think all of that, like that prime Jordan, if you will. I mean, the fact that they were able to beat the Bird in his, Magic in his, and that era of Jordan is impressive. It's just one thing that it really stood out to me. As soon as they start showing the video of Isaiah's account of everything that happened, and to see the saltiness of Jordan. Like,
man.
I don't know who's more salty, either Jordan or Isaiah. Like, because the way that he came out and was like, I don't even care what you guys
don't show me anything. There's nothing you do to convince me.
He is hurt still, like on that thing, man.
I just think he just doesn't respect them. Just as basketball players, like the sportsmanship. And see, the documentary did a good job because you can't fake the footage, right?
Right.
So the documentary did a good job showing every year the Bulls were getting knocked off by the Pistons up until the year before they swept them.
Yeah.
The Bulls stayed on the court, shook hands. Not just the role players, Michael Jordan.
But see, that's the thing. I don't give credit to that as – I mean, I understand the whole sportsmanship part of it, but I don't look at that as like, man, in my eyes, man, that makes Michael Jordan even better.
No, like, but I'm saying that all he was expecting or hoping for was to be treated the same way he did and how he lost.
Yeah, but I don't.
Because he was psychological about wanting to win. But even with that fire, he still told them, he didn't do what they did, especially with the game still going on.
But see, that's what I think. I don't think shaking hands is that big of a deal. I think we look at it now more so. Even
did you ever walk off the floor?
Did I ever walk off the floor?
Yeah, during a game without shaking your opponent's hand?
I mean, there's been times where I didn't shake everybody's hands. I probably just shook somebody that was like my boy's hand.
I mean, like I'm not shaking anybody's hand. High school, competitive real ball.
High school, no, because that's the thing. High school is mandated. Like basketball is the only sport where you got to get in the line and shake everybody's hand.
They do that in baseball too.
Okay, I didn't play baseball. I only played intramurals, but I understood the respect part of it. But you could see even in the
team you hated.
Maybe in the rivalries that we had in high school.
Like when did y'all ever have to play what's the school in Keene?
King Public?
Yeah. Did you ever play them?
Yeah, we played King Public.
Because did y'all have beef with them?
King Public every year for their homecoming. But
did y'all ever have beef with them?
Not my last
Clifton's teams did.
Yeah, because I mean we weren't as nice as them at that time. So like they were better than us. Now we had a good game with them like my senior year. But besides all that, my point is just within the rivalries and stuff, whatever just happened on the floor, that was still carrying over even when we were shaking the hands. Like it would be nice like that if I had just been trash talking somebody, which I was doing a lot at that time. Like if I was trashing somebody that whole time and then I just come up and I say, man, that was a good game by you. Sure, that's surprising, but I'm not going to, if I'm on the opposite side, I'm not expecting for him to talk to me. Like I'm not looking at it for me. This is just me as a basketball player. You're
not expecting the behavior in kind.
Now, what I will expect for myself now is like me presently, I'll go say good game to anybody. But That's just me, how I'm trying to carry myself. But in general, like, I'm not expecting that out of everybody else. Like, that's not my thing. And I'm not taking that as, like, the most disrespectful thing. Partially in context to this, because, and this is probably a deeper issue, I don't understand why Bird and them didn't get the same flack.
Yes, you do.
I do, but I just want to know if anybody else thinks the same way that I just want to know because.
But it's not fair. Context matters. Context matters. That's not a fair. And I've only seen a few other people say this. Why was that different? Because if we're talking about Bird versus the Pistons the year before when the Pistons beat them.
Yeah.
The Celtics team security and their officials told them get off the floor. They were in the Pontiac Dome and the Pistons crowd was about to rush the floor. And so when that happened, they saw that was about to happen, they told the players leave the court.
And I think that's fair. I think that is fair. I'm not saying
they were on the road. They weren't home. Right. They were on the road.
No, and I think that's a fair thing. I'm just saying it is what it is.
And the footage shows Kevin McHale and a couple of those other guys were giving them their props on the way out.
Zeke came out and said Kevin and him have known each other since high school. So it was more easy. That's what I'm saying. Like, I get the whole, like, if your boys thing. Like, Sally said, I came because me and Jordan are frat brothers. I forget who else he said. I think he said something to Horace Grant as well.
Right.
But it's like, the thing was, those are my boys. Like, I get the whole, like, if I'm playing somebody, whether it be in intramurals, whether it be in the real game, and I know them, or I had some affiliation with them, whether it be family, whether it be same school, whether it be whatever, yeah, I probably will go and dap them up, authentically come up and everything like that. And I get the whole respect of the game thing. But what does that like really mean, man? Like, because then my thing is we want them to not like each other. Like, y'all can't keep doing this thing of like, oh, man, we want everybody to be friends and then be like enemies at the same time. Like, we want them to be enemies. Let them be enemies. Like, let them not like each other and be okay with it. But let's not try to group everybody and be like, well, we got to have all sorts of shit.
Now you got me curious. I'm trying to think. when the Spurs and the Heat traded titles, did they talk to each other on the floor?
I don't know. I'm sure they did. I don't think though, but the rivalry wasn't. And that's the other thing. When was the last time we've seen a duel of a rivalry? Like Cleveland and Golden State, maybe the closest thing.
Yeah.
But even with that, I'm still like partial to stuff. But it's
even though it was lopsided, Houston Golden State really was a thing.
Houston and the Clippers for a second was like a beef.
Yeah.
So it's like when you talk about a rivalry, like those are people that you don't
Celtics Miami.
like. You don't like you're not. That's why Ray Allen has the conflict with everybody. He goes to Miami. Like I don't like the whole thing of us saying we want to see. For instance, this year we said it's a fair playing field with the NBA. You got Kawhi. Let's say we got a healthy KD and Kyrie, healthy Kawhi and Paul George, healthy LeBron, Anthony Davis. It's up for anybody to go get.
Oh, that's where you stop?
Who's the best? Who's the best? But see, there's the whole thing. If we want that, don't tell me at the same time we want everybody to just be kind to each other and nice.
But that's much more likely in 2020 NBA because these guys didn't come up as rivals. A lot of them played together in AAU and in college and other stuff.
But
so
even then, you had the expression.
It's a different thing.
But you had people just like Mikal and Isaiah Thomas. You had people that had been boys. You had people that had known each other. And they were the ones that expressed themselves to each other. Now people I'll put it this way, there may be more functions for people to at least know each other, whether it be the AAU circuit, whether it be social media, whether it be affiliations, agency-wise or something like that. But people that are boys and everything, like they're really going to spend their time speaking to each other. If Kawhi Leonard walked off the floor, right?
Kawhi is a special case.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, we give so much area to somebody, and then we say, well, this person can't do it. Like, I don't care that Isaiah Thomas decided to, and this is my thing. I find it more like, I'm not going to say admirable, but I respect Isaiah for the fact that my man decided he could just walk right in front of him. He ain't caring. Like, I can't be mad. You can't love a Kevin Garnett and then say
he regrets it now.
He regrets it now because everybody cares about it 30 years later.
He regretted it after, too, because it cost him a spot on the Dream Team.
That's a whole nother thing that I don't want to even get on. Well, we got to talk about that. But that my overall, for that point, that's something that stood out with.
But he wasn't the ringleader for that, you know.
Who, Jordan?
No, going back to the Pistons walking off the floor. Isaiah Thomas wasn't the ringleader.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. When I hear Laimbeer, I'd hate Laimbeer, but I got to respect Laimbeer because he's sticking to his guns, man. Like, and I respect Jordan because he's sticking to how he doesn't like it. But I don't like the outside noise of saying, well, you know, it's literally a label that is given them because they were the bad boys. They're living up to what you wanted them to be. That's literally it. You wanted them to be the bad guys. They weren't even doing anything. I mean, they're playing more physical than everybody else on the floor. They play team ball. They taking people out. And the thing is that bothers me is because we'll say nowadays we want the game to be like that. But then when the game gets exposed to anything like that, we don't want it to, like, come on, man. Like, what I want to say, I'm not going to say. But the thing is, we just got to take it in the context of, if we want people to hoop and then it's going to be a rivalry, allow it to be a rivalry. But don't bring up 30 years later and let's, like, start. Because I think even Isaiah Thomas thought that they had moved on a little bit. I think he did think that they had moved on a little bit. Now, Jordan, in honesty, he could have just been talking about his emotions.
That's what Stephen A. said he was.
I think he could have been just talking about
Stephen A. said that Michael Jordan in the documentary was saying it as how he felt at the time, which is similar to what happened during the Fab Five doc, where Jalen Rose was talking mad reckless about Grant Hill and Duke.
But that's what I'd expect. Jalen Rose in college, even Jalen Rose's first couple of years was nice.
And Grant Hill responded in the classiest, most petty way imaginable.
And that's what I'd expect.
Did you see what he said when he wrote back in a note?
I don't remember.
Sincerely, Grant Hill 4-0 against the Fab Five or whatever it was. Like he never lost to them.
So there's still a rivalry there. I'm not saying they hate each other. I'm sure they get along fine. But I'm saying it's still, if you're going to take them back to that place, it's there. It's there. Like, I get that. I just don't understand the whole thing of, right, let's ostracize the Pistons now again
but
for the
remember,
13th time.
But remember, right? And if we're going to be fair contextually about this, the Pistons were hated when they were playing, not just by fans, but by the other players, management, and coaches in the NBA.
Yeah.
This is not a beloved franchise or team.
Now that is definitely
okay. They burned a lot of bridges in how they played when they were being the bad boys, and it finally dawned on people that they were legitimately not only trying to beat you, they were trying to hurt you.
Yeah.
Within a sport where millions of dollars, even at that time, is invested into your body and your health and your livelihood, that's a problem.
However, I am going to say the politics of it was, though, remember that it was Jordan.
What do you mean?
That's the thing of it. Because Jordan's the next. Jordan's the prized possession. Now it's becoming a thing of, you know the NBA is looking at it even worse.
But let's not forget, the NBA didn't tell them to institute the Jordan rules.
They
were tired of him going wild and came up with a plan purposefully to physically.
No. I'm not saying that they didn't do that. I'm saying, like, legit. I'm saying it was a problem because it was Jordan. That's what I'm saying.
They were doing that to Bird too, though. Like, it was a problem. It was a problem for whoever. Like, the league didn't want the Pistons in the finals.
That's my point, though.
But they still went.
But I don't believe they would want them in the finals because Jordan is money. I just don't believe, like, you're going to look at it in full context, the business side of it, and say that if Bird or if Magic had been in those runs and the Bulls didn't make it to the Eastern Conference Finals or whatever, and it was just the story of the rest of the 80s was just the Celtics and Pistons or the Lakers and the Pistons, I don't think we're talking about them exactly the same. Like, I think we are saying they're the bad boys, but I think it's also the thing of, like, they did that to Jordan. There's no, I can't disagree with anybody that has, like, that notion in their mind because, like, Jordan was a prized possession, rightfully so. Like, I mean, don't hurt the golden father's favorite child in a way.
But all I'm saying is, even in the documentary, they showed, like, the Pistons were beating up people.
When Charles Barkley said that he was like, this is one team where you got to call your parents or call your family and say, I don't know if I'm going to make it out of it. But my thing is, even with this, what would be the line for someone playing physical today, or when we say we want the game to be more physical? When we say we wish Steph Curry could actually get lit up, or Trae Young, or these small guards actually get a hand check, or would LeBron be the same if somebody was about to hit him in the – like, when we say these things, what are we reflecting? Are we talking about the Knicks of the 90s? Are we talking about the bad boy Pistons? Or are we just saying this? Like, there's application to it, and if we're going to celebrate the application, like, let's celebrate it in totality and say, okay, well, this was an actual team. Now, mind you, I'm not saying that I'm telling kids to go undercut folks. I'm just saying, like, if we want the physical style, let's acknowledge it, though, like, for what it was and for its greatness at the time. Because obviously nowadays we're saying we wish it was more physical, but to what degree are we saying that?
You bring up good points. I think this is going to sound weird. You remember when you used to play Madden? Mm. And every year the game would feel different, whether they would overpower the defense that year or overpower the offense that year. Madden 2004 with Michael Vick. That was the year of the playmaker.
99, just a level.
you see what I'm – so I think the game was more balanced or slightly tilted towards the defender in the 90s. There were less threes taken, which is, that's not to say anything, but physically you had big men who weren't just brutes. You had big men with touch. David Robinson, Alonzo Mourning. Shaq back then still wasn't just a dunker. Hakeem, right? So you still had big men with touch. Now they didn't have 20-foot range.
Yeah.
But they had touch. Your guards were able to still defend and in some cases impede progress, right?
Yeah.
But the big thing also was that the NBA at that time said, you are going to, as a man, play defense. And we are not going to allow you to do zone.
Yeah.
If you get beat by a talented offender, you're in the poster.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think that the game was geared way more towards a battle.
You know what? Wilt Chamberlain had said something, I guess, when Jordan was on his rise. He was saying how the difference between him and Jordan is
I saw that.
They made rules to stop me, and then they took away rules or something like that in order for you to like flourish in some type of way. I'm paraphrasing, but
yeah,
basically like because of Wilt's dominance, they had to put rules in place like to stop him. Jordan, it was like they saw him and it's like.
But I mean, that's not fair fully, right? They did that for Kareem too.
I believe, and all of that I think is why when we look at stuff, there's a lot of revisionist history. Like
we did it for Iverson.
Yeah, and I'm saying that we got to look at stuff and be like concretely saying, okay, definitely Jordan was a prized possession of the NBA. Granted, Jordan was an amazing player, but in my eyes, just in my estimation, if that had continued on where it was just some other team, let's say it was Cleveland that came out that year, I don't know if it's that big of a deal. I don't know if we're talking about that year, maybe those 2 years or so, couple of years when they're battling with the Bulls, the same with the Pistons. I don't know if we had the same associations. They would be the bad boys,
look, the Pistons,
but I don't know if they're
2
necessarily
or 3 years in a row.
But that's what I'm saying. Like I don't know if we buy that. What's also interesting about it is though the fact that Dennis Rodman becomes a part of the team.
That's what makes me think it wasn't about grudges with Jordan. Because Michael Jordan could have killed that, and he could have killed John Sally Cumming.
Or do you think, here's just a question. I know like there's some people who will probably burn us for this. Do you think that it's one of those things where Jordan's trying to get rid of anything that could stop him? Not to say that Dennis Rodman was going to stop him.
Not at that
but like
time.
In the sense of like, if he's on a team that could be good or anything like that.
Dennis Rodman was close to not being in the league. Remember, he was immediately prior to the Bulls, he was with the Spurs. And the Spurs, in their press conference where they announced he had been traded to the Bulls, the GM at the time was Popovich. Mm-hmm. And Popovich celebrated in the press conference and made a point of saying how hard they had to work to get rid of him.
Well, was that because of his play or that because of his character?
Both.
His play, they showed that thing on the documentary. My man was still getting 20 rebounds per game. His numbers didn't change. The
problem was that
he didn't fit in
the locker room. The Spurs were a conservative organization.
But that's what I'm saying. I think that was more character because even it was emphasized when he goes to even the suggestion that comes across by his assistant that the belief was we've got Michael and Scotty. Therefore, it could be, and even got Phil. Therefore, there could be some type of, I guess, safety net for him because you have these people that are actually leaders that aren't afraid to get in your face or aren't afraid to understand you. Like, I don't know if not now. Of course, I wasn't around at that time, so I don't know if it's necessarily just a thing of his play that almost kept him out. But I think it's more of like his character and who he had become at that time. Because it wasn't going to be fitting the Spurs' way, which we see goes farther back than just 99. But they were building to those moments of when they started winning championships and everything, which I don't know. All I know is that for the fact of that Dennis Rodman comes to that team, who I'm glad that they talked about because you always tell people like, man, buy into a role. And I don't think there's anybody that's ever done better at that. You got like people like your Lambeers, you got people like your Draymonds, you got people like your Ben Wallace's, you got your Pippins, you got I'm just trying to think of just people that have been you got your Charles Oakleys, you got all these people, but like a Dennis Rodman, more of also because of who he was, the enigma of him off the court. But I mean, to study rebounds.
When he was explaining it, I was like, man, I've thought about rebounding like that, but I've never gone that far.
Yeah, man. To say like, yo, to get to how many people do you know that get in the gym and say,
look at spin?
Well, no, not even that. Just get a couple of guys. Y'all just shoot while I rebound. Like, I'm not working on anything. I just want to work on getting the ball.
Yeah.
It was Even
you know how maddening it must be to perfectly box him out, and he still ends up with the rebound.
At least they say 6'7".
Yeah, he was undersized.
And going against 7-footers, getting rebounds, blocking shots.
Listen, he was their secret weapon against Shaq.
Now, here's the thing. If they don't have him, do you think they win these championships, this three-peat?
I know. I don't think – I think it would have been tougher because the Bulls weren't a great rebounding team. They had Luke Longley. He was solid, but I don't think they were a top team in rebounding without Dennis Rodman.
Which then goes back to the whole blessing and curse with Jerry Krause, who really the blame has to go to Reinsdorf.
It has to go to Reinsdorf. I was tweeting that.
It has to go to him. As a person that's overseeing everything,
he had to allow Krause to do this.
Yeah, and which is why, like, when even the defame of Krause in the midst of his death and everything like that. And even the stories alongside of it. Even the first episode, when you're seeing the title come along, and it's like, oh, this is the owner. And yet he's talking about, Krause suggested to me, and I told Pippen no. But it's like you didn't do anything. Like you weren't putting your foot down in some type of way on this man in any way.
He seems to be pretty hands-off.
I guess some owners are. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the thing is with Krause that you see is definitely his ego gets in the way, but he's a genius for a GM.
Yeah, he had a great run. I just think that he left rings on the table.
Then that goes back to last week. I was saying, I don't know. I think one more.
At least one.
I think one more.
But 7 rings?
7 in a decade?
7, right. What are we saying?
Nothing.
His resume is ironclad already, but with 7, Wes?
Was the only person to do that is Russell?
Yeah, with 8 teams.
Yes.
7 in 10 years against a 30-team league?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the difficulty of that, though, is just wondering how they would have been able to survive. Given if that season, let's say if it wasn't a lockout and it was an 82.
Yeah, no. If it wasn't a lockout, then health really becomes more of a factor.
Yeah, if it wasn't a lockout. Now, if it's still 50 games, you're probably right. They could probably get another 50.
That's my
You've
point.
seen this stuff, like Rodman came out about like how he could guard LeBron and everything, and like just the way that he knows, like with the players of today, like if they were playing now, like he would.
You talk about Rodman?
Yeah.
You saw when he said LeBron's game was easy?
Yeah. Oh man, I don't know. Like,
and he told Draymond that he'd make him his girlfriend?
Yes. Someone said that Jordan wanted Rodman on the team. No. What did they say? They said LeBron wouldn't want to face Rodman because Rodman would probably sleep with his mom before and then go out and beat him. I was like, what? Oh man, this world. But yeah, I don't know about that debate as far as I don't want to disrespect LeBron, man. Because even with this, I did walk away understanding like even the comparisons with people and everything like that, it just becomes harder.
It's tough between eras, man.
It is hard to do. Like LeBron, yeah, I'm not gonna say. And I think this is the other thing. I think people like Jordan better, and I think that just plays into a lot of stuff.
But the one thing that everyone I've said this to can agree is that LeBron meeting a prime Dennis Rodman, there would be just as much confusion on both sides initially, because Rodman would have never seen anything like LeBron.
Yeah.
And LeBron never would have seen anything like Rodman.
Which then is the weird part, because when you start talking about these eras and everything like that, see, I feel like it's easier to say if a Jordan or a Rodman or a Pippen was playing today, because they would have, let's say they have that same player, now they're being trained in today's stuff. But if you take the same player of like today and you put them back, like, are they the same? Exactly. Like, how does that work?
They wouldn't be prepared for a player like Steph Curry shooting in that volume.
Now, yeah, things like that I think are revolutionary. I don't think anybody would be prepared for Karl Malone bringing the ball up the floor, throwing passes.
But see, this is where I disagree, right? Because they saw that in a less athletic form with Magic.
But he wasn't a freight train.
Magic was still a problem. He was still 6'9", and he still ran the break.
Who would you rather have in a shooting contest? Magic Johnson or LeBron James?
LeBron, but that's a low bar. Neither one of them are great shooters.
Okay, and I think like there's a certain...
At the free throw line, give me Magic.
Oh, God. But, man, LeBron shooting free throw, that's a whole different thing. But I don't know whether, if you look at LeBron and you say, like, that he's outside of your top five, I feel like you're being disrespectful. If you say that he's outside your top three.
Did you see, I think it was Chris Thompson on Facebook. Did you see that?
No.
He had Jordan third behind LeBron and Kobe.
I don't even
like 230 comments later. Like people, I commented a few times myself. Like people were livid.
I don't know how Kobe would be greater than Jordan. What was his reasoning for that?
He said Kobe had better skills. Like Kobe had something Jordan didn't, which was he could see Jordan. And so he was able to do everything Jordan did, but with more modern technique and just as maniacal training. And so he added...
But not as efficient.
Not as efficient. He added a three. He was way more deadly from three than Jordan ever was. His footwork was crazy. He took tougher shots, which is where the smarts come in. Because my retort was that Kobe Bryant was not as smart a basketball player as Michael Jordan.
But tougher shot doesn't mean that you're...
No. But he was a tougher shot maker, if you want to say that.
But I think he put himself also at the time in tougher shots.
Yes. That's
the thing. Like, I don't know if, like, Kobe's doing a reverse the shoulder over with 2 7-footers, 2 or 3 people.
Yeah. That's the thing with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was going to get the best shot possible in the most important moment.
And I don't know how you say
and the secondary thing to that was that LeBron is going to make the right play regardless of what part of the game it is, to his detriment.
Now that's why everybody was talking about this.
We saw LeBron passing the ball off to a shooter with the clock winding down when everyone would have been yelling at him. You had a layup, a contested layup.
And that's the difference. Now, see, people start talking about this whole Paxson stuff, right?
And Kerr.
Yeah, Paxson and Kerr. This is where the separation is for me. And this is real simple. The last time that we saw LeBron in the finals, it was game 1 when he puts on an exposition where I'm like, yo, if he carries this on and he gets this game 1, okay, and he wins this series, okay, there's something that he could at least knock on the door at least. But then he loses. But it wasn't necessarily the loss. And this is something that I know my brother and I keep stressing to everybody. It's when that switch happens and Steph is on him. Like, that's your green light. Because here's the thing. With Jordan and with Kobe, with KD and Kawhi, with all these guys, that switch happens. And it's not that LeBron didn't make the right play. He did. That's where I give him credit. He saw a guy that was open. Fine. My thing is, though, the reason why Jordan passed the ball was because he got double teamed. Right. Who's really going to try to go do something in the double team? Maybe Kobe, but not a Jordan.
But let's be clear as well. Who was he passing? Who was Jordan passing to? One of the top shooters in the league.
Yeah. And see, that's my thing. Paxson, Kerr, and even with the Paxson situation, he assessed it and was like, this is when we'll get the ball to. And I think that's within LeBron's credit.
Not only that, because let's be clear, Phil Jackson told him in the huddle who's open, because he was going away from that.
Yeah. And I think that's something where LeBron, he doesn't necessarily need the coach for him to tell that.
True.
He'll find that.
True.
And that's to his credit. All I'm saying is, in that moment, while he's making that right pass, I don't think it was the correct play. That's what I'm saying. It may have been the right play.
So it's like those things where God forbid you get into a car wreck, but you had the right of way, and so you could be right legally and wrong physically.
Yeah, and like, because if Steph Curry, oh man, I'm just trying to envision myself. If LeBron is in that moment and he knows if we get this game won, like we shocked the world. We shocked the world. Like,
but that's no different. Look at history. Look at the 2001 NBA Finals.
Oh yeah,
right.
With Iverson.
Iverson gives them 48 in LA, and they take game one.
Yeah.
With the capping play, he drops Tyrone Lue and steps over him.
Yeah. And that
so we've seen someone assert themselves against odds that they had no business being there.
So then think about the narrative of how everything changes. If LeBron kills Steph Curry at that moment, oh, you want the switch? Because he doesn't even – and that's the thing. He would not have had to settle for the jumper at that time. He could have, and if he hit it, more power to him. But you see old light skin, light meat on your man, you got to take him. And that's the thing. Like, at that moment, I don't know if that is the same with Jordan. Now, to the credit, though, it's two different mindsets.
I have sometimes about LeBron, right? Because that problem you just described, we first saw it against the Mavs in 2011. When for whole stretches of the game, he was defended by 63-year-old Jason Kidd.
But here's the thing. They knew that they took him out. And that wasn't even the thing. They tapped on him mentally. Jason Terry's talked about that tons of times. Where it was, I forget which game it was, where they saw him looking up at the screen and they could just see in his body language that because they were making it so tough on him that they had him. You can't tell me with some old men playing the zone and you got this 7-foot white man who you're just giving the ball to, who has been leading in the, like, Dirk's playoff run that year was one of the top ever. And
I think that's what we're gonna have to see one of these years from James Harden. He's going to get into the playoffs and have to say, this is it. If I don't do this,
if I don't make this,
this is it.
The narrative has to change in such a way.
And it's the same thing that happened with Dirk. Dirk's narrative completely shifted after that.
Because think about before, when they won those 60s games and they almost broke, everybody was talking about the beginning of the season.
They're getting taken out in the first round.
Yeah, and the We Believe team takes them. Everybody's thing was Dirk is soft. And Dirk put people on notice, and that's to his credit. And I think LeBron –
I just remember him against the Spurs in Game 7.
But you know what? Now, let me just side note, because I am a Mavs fan. That year, people got put into context. Caron Butler got injured, broke his foot. With Caron, Like, I think we're even punishing teams even more because Caron Butler was disgusting at that moment. He just broke his foot. The second thing is the teams that they beat, I want to say they played Portland that first
Was
series.
that the same year or was it the year prior where they smacked Kobe?
No, that was the same year they smacked Kobe, who had just come off of winning the championship. And
that
they
was
swept
Bynum hit the little Puerto Rican dude and laid him out.
Barea.
He laid out Barea and got
Jason
ejected.
Terry torched the Lakers, man. Torched them. But besides all that, the point being, and I forgot, they also got Oklahoma City in the conference finals. But
wait, the Spurs weren't with them in the conference finals? That was the semis?
I thought it was. Oh man, I got to look at that again.
I don't remember.
Because I thought it was Oklahoma in the Western Conference Finals. I may be wrong.
I don't remember.
I know that they did play Oklahoma that year. Because I remember, I know they played them after the Lakers. If the Lakers were the first round, I know they played them at least Oklahoma in the second round. I can't remember or not. But to the point again, though, of as far as LeBron asserting himself in some way, the thing is, and this is the only thing, we're going to keep having this discussion about LeBron the more that we try to put him in the box of the scorer. But that's not his necessarily game. He scores and he gets points and everything like that. But he's not like a sniper like Kevin Durant.
Right.
And that's just not his game. And that's something that I respect because for him to be able to acknowledge who to get the ball to and stuff, that takes a level of understanding like this is the best play and not being selfish at a moment.
So are you saying he shouldn't be the primary scorer on the team?
No. I'm saying he should be, but his game doesn't reflect that because he also doesn't have a go-to move. Don't let me get started.
Do you think his team is at his best if he is not the primary scorer?
No. I never said any of that. I'm saying I think he could be, but his game doesn't reflect it because he hasn't developed his game in that way.
What is he averaging this season versus?
It doesn't matter what he's
versus AD. I'm just curious. Now that you're saying that.
No, because I'm saying him averaging points, he's just going to score, but he's not a Kevin Durant. He's not a sniper, man. He's not a Melo. He's not that guy. He's going to get his points, getting those layups, driving, everything like that, which is fine. But LeBron is not no scorer like that.
No. I'm just talking about his current role on the team when you're talking about him being a scorer, right? Okay. Anthony Davis this season is averaging 27, 9, and 3 for the Lakers. LeBron this season is averaging 25, 8, and 10.
Which is amazing. And now think about if he had the actual mindset behind it. That would be crazy. But he doesn't. So, like, he's just putting up great numbers. But where his mindset is getting that ball around. Now he's averaging 10 assists.
Just for reference, James Harden is averaging 34.4, 6.4, and 7. And if the season ends today, Harden and Westbrook would officially be the highest scoring teammates in NBA history.
Westbrook's one of my favorites.
They'd be in the 60s combined for scoring, and the closest one to them is Kobe Shaq.
It just doesn't hit me the same, man.
What? Westbrook Harden?
Nah, it doesn't. No, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You are a Rockets fan, and I'm a Westbrook fan. Like, I've been a Westbrook diehard. But it doesn't hit me the same. Yeah, it's not going to hit me the same because
it's two guards.
Jordan do it off of twos, man.
Kawhi.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it just ain't going to hit me the same. If I know that you're going to, like, you're talking about Kerry getting mad at you for holding the ball for 30 seconds. I know you're going to hold the ball for 30.
I was setting up the offense.
James Harden ain't setting up no offense.
I wasn't shooting. I was passing the ball.
But all I'm saying is it doesn't hit me the same. But going to that LeBron point, though, if he had that mindset, if he's averaging that much right now, think about if he just had that. But now, in his credit, that's the beauty of LeBron. He doesn't even have that mindset, but he's still putting up these numbers. But what he also does put up is 10 assists. He does get your players involved. I, though, do not believe the theory This is where, even though he gets people involved, I know there's the LeBron sexuals out there and everything like that, but I do not believe that he gets people better. Because when we talk about better, what do you exactly mean? That they're now playing a role? Because from what I saw, Kevin Love definitely was on a whole nother trajectory, and then he came to Cleveland. Chris Bosh was on a whole nother trajectory, and then he came to Miami. And mind you, now there was 3 stars on those teams, but don't tell me that he gets people better because you're sitting in the corner now and you're shooting. And y'all both had a post game, like, and we're able to do certain stuff. So I don't like to hear people say, yeah, he gets everybody around him better because he passes the ball. Really, everybody stands around, he drives and he kicks it out.
So did Jordan get people better?
Apparently, he got Scottie Pippen better. So, and I'm not saying that LeBron doesn't get people better in the essence of, like, that playing with them doesn't make you want to play or develop your game in such a way. But I also do look at the fact of, do you think that – I'll put it this way. Do you think that if somebody told you, like, oh, yeah, you're averaging 25 and 10, 25 and 15, right? And then you go play on this team, and now you're averaging 15, 17 points a game, maybe 10 boards.
But that's Bosh.
Yeah. But now, like, you're a better player. I'd say you play a role better. Like, I'm not going to say, like, you're better. You may have better intellect to know, better maturity, like, okay, this is his show, anything like that. But I ain't going to say that he's making, like, when I think about people that make folks better, I feel like Magic Johnson makes people better. I feel like a Jason Kidd.
Why?
I'd say, like, because his game isn't necessarily on the thing of, okay, well, I'm going to drive and then we're going to kick it out. Like, the offense for LeBron James is you literally drive and he's going to kick it out. Everybody's at the 3-point line. You don't teach your kids to play like that. There's no offensive set for anything like that. Like, I'm talking about his bread and butter. Not to knock him in that way. It's just that's the way it is. So you can't say, like LeBron James right now is probably the best point guard in the league. But what are we defining that as? That's what people are saying. Like, they're saying he's the best point guard in the league. But what are we defining that as? Because he gets assists? Why is he getting those assists?
Yeah, I think
he gets those assists because he drives in and he throws the ball. Now, grant you, LeBron can create. But I still would take Chris Paul over him as a point guard.
Yeah.
I would still take Chris Paul over him as far as, like, just running an offense.
But he's also a better shooter in every way.
That's just my beliefs of it. And he has no go-to move. But this is not to sound like a LeBron hater.
That's what it's going to come across as.
I believe in LeBron as far as when it comes to certain things. I would love to play with him, sure, if all I had to do was shoot. I can't shoot that well.
Wouldn't work so great.
Yeah, just give me the ball to pass. I'll be right there. I'll go play defense.
All right, let's talk a little bit about how that episode ended with the 91 finals. One thing I wanted to say was that there's this notion that the Bulls faced this broken down old Lakers team. All right, Magic Johnson was 32 years old. Okay, this is not someone that is ready to retire. Remember, immediately after this is when you have the HIV stuff happen with him. But at 32 in that league,
he just won the MVP. Was it 2 years?
And he was still double-digit assist in points here. Okay, so this notion that Magic Johnson was old and broken up, no. And don't forget how the Lakers got to those finals. All right, they knocked off.
I think people don't talk about it a lot. Yeah.
No, like, this was not some weakened foe. Now, James Worthy, who was hurt? Either Byron Scott or James Worthy was hurt.
It was Byron Scott that was hurt.
Right? And so they're not at full strength in that regard. But Perkins actually
played pretty well.
Played really well. That gave them game one.
Yeah.
Now, the documentary didn't talk about this. And this is something that just happens because I was a diehard fan and I got the DVD set that covers all of the finals games and gives you the full games. Michael Jordan was hurt in those NBA finals.
A word.
At the end of game 2, he went up for the game clinching shot, and Vlade Divac went up to block it and came down full force on his foot, specifically his toe, to the extent that at the beginning of the second game, at this point for my sneakerheads, he was wearing the Air Jordan 6 in black and infrared.
Mm-hmm.
His foot was too swollen to get into the shoe comfortably. And so the team trainer took a knife and sliced the toe of the shoe open so that the shoe actually was still intact, but the front of the shoe, he had basically sliced up the toe box so that it would expand.
Oh, okay.
And so his foot would go in, and even though he had a really swollen toe and pain in that foot, hopefully it would allow him to still be able to move and stuff. So they don't talk about any of this stuff, but like you can see this on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
And that pair of shoes with the slice in it ended up with Sonny Vaccaro, who's the godfather of everything we know modern basketball footwear to be as far as endorsement deals and all of that stuff. With the sneaker companies getting involved with the grassroots and AAU and everything. He's the godfather of that. And so he has that shoe even now. Yeah. But so these are things that they don't even talk about, right? Or they talk about the Bulls losing game 1 and the whole weight of the world is on Michael Jordan. It's his first finals.
He loses the first game to Magic.
In Chicago.
Yeah. To Magic. That is.
And so there was a lot of people didn't know.
I wonder what their reasons for leaving that out. Because, I mean.
Time.
I feel like that would,
Time.
Yeah, I just feel like, because they really didn't hit that much on the Lakers stuff. I wonder if they'll talk about it a little bit more. I know these next episode. Did you see the preview for the Blazers?
No, I didn't. I purposefully don't see. I saw the one I saw actually talks about Dream Team.
Not the man. Jordan is, and this is the other funny thing.
This is what we talked about. Clyde.
If LeBron did say some of this stuff, he'd be Torch.
Yeah,
like Torch. He said basically how he understood how they were putting him and Clyde against each other, but he found it as disrespectful. Just basically like he didn't feel like they were on the same level. And I was just looking at that. I was like, man, if LeBron said any of this stuff, boy,
the whole world would be rooting against him.
Oh man, Skip Bayless would be having a heart attack.
Yeah, he said that. He did say that. He said that in his highlight video. He said, I'm gonna show the world the difference between us.
Oh yeah. Magic said that the night before they were out for dinner game 1, and he said, he was like, basically, watch what I do to him tomorrow. That's when the shrug game happens.
Imagine.
Which I'm sure we'll talk about later. But when people talk about this whole 3-point thing.
This is a preview for the next episodes, because this wasn't in episodes 3 and 4.
No,
but yeah, this is the 92. This is the 92.
This is just from watching that game. If you watch that game, he had already the defense was sagging off of him
because he wasn't considered a 3-point threat.
And that's the thing; they were sagging off, and so like he was literally taking what everybody would say, taking what the defense was giving him.
Right.
All right, you're backing off of me. All right, I'm gonna shoot.
But he's a 29% 3-point shooter.
Exactly. So that guy, man, I don't know. All I'm waiting for is when Reggie Miller comes on, because I just need to hear all of everything.
So your big thing is going to be the 98 conference finals.
Oh, man. I love me some Reggie Miller. But hearing him talk about, like, man, if I saw MJ right now, I'd punch him in the face. That's what I want, man. I want to hear that. I don't want all this stuff like, man, this was the greatest. This is Black Jesus and everything. Like
he said that though.
Yeah, and I think that's all in due respect. Everybody knows like this is the man. but it's also knowing, like, at that time, man, they were going to try to give you some buckets. It's one thing to be in awe, but it's another thing to think, like, man,
he was probably one of Jordan's biggest competitors at the shooting guard position. Him and Mitch Richmond. Mitch Richmond him and Jordan went at it.
This is why we got to talk about the most underrated players. We got to make a list because I got a couple that I've even said to people like my age, and they'll be like, "Who is that?" I was like, "Man, go YouTube." Jamal Mashburn.
Listen, I was a huge Jamal Mashburn fan.
Give me Jamal Mashburn. This man KG said he's in his top 5.
Jamal Mashburn. I saw Jamal Mashburn injure Grant Hill.
Oh man!
Off of a crossover.
Jamal Mashburn. But no, there's too many that I could think of name about underrated. But I said that to somebody. They're like, Jamal Mashburn. Who is that?
Monster Mash.
First time I understood who he was, I got in some book that was on like NBA Superstars or something. And this is when he was in New Orleans. I was like really little. And I was like, man, who is Jamal Mashburn? Whatever. And then I was like, oh, he had played for Dallas at one point. So then I got really interested. And then I just started seeing highlights. Then I just started watching games. And I was like, oh, he's real. He's real. Is that good for
So what are you looking forward to in these next episodes?
I want to hear
92 finals.
I want to hear all the pettiness and trash talking from Jordan on why people thought he couldn't shoot. I just want to hear that.
The 6 threes.
I want to hear him talk about, man, I've been practicing this or whatever. I just want to hear all that.
I want to hear the Dream Team stuff. I hope they don't borrow too heavily from the Dream Team documentary. I want to see new stuff.
Yeah, I do. I do hope he clears his name in saying that he wasn't the one that, even though everybody didn't like Zeke, but he wasn't.
It was Magic Johnson.
Yeah. I hope he clears his name on that. I hope Magic actually says something. But that's really what I'm hoping for. I don't really know what to expect. I'm hoping nobody interrupts me at work. That's
all right, man. Thanks a lot.
All right.
All right.